So we have an episode on village saving and loan groups, VSLAs, and to be honest, I needed to be convinced to have that episode because I always had lots of questions on, are these groups really decisive in contributing to better nutrition?
I'm actually glad that they convinced you because, when I actually visited the communities to have the first-hand, information on how they are implementing this, it was really, I would say, insightful because they're using these platforms for just more than, what we know them for. I mean, they talk about health education. They talked about, resilience, which is a very greater component of nutrition outcome improvement, and just food security and a whole lot of other things. Honestly speaking, it's something that maybe people need to take seriously when they're talking about nutrition in communities.
Okay, then let's listen and get convinced.
My name is Esther Lubani and I'm a village agent from Group Village Paga, Traditional Authority Ndindi in Salima district. I have 10 groups under my care. In our understanding, good nutrition and VSLA goes together. Some nutritional components of food, like margarine, cooking oil, require some financing. This is possible for someone who is part of VSLA because with the money, they're able to buy what they want.
I'm your usual host, Zainab Tisenga, and welcome back to Over to You podcast. In today's conversation, we are discussing how FNSP integrated nutrition into village savings and loan associations. I'm joined by Sam, who I'm going to let introduce himself.
Thank you. I'm Samuel from Salima. Actually, I'm the current district community development officer.
Thank you so much, Sam. I also have Kate in studio with me, and Kate is from GIZ. Please, Kate, introduce yourself.
I'm Kate Mngongulu, project coordinator, FNSP from GIZ Lilongwe.
Thank you. I think I should start with Sam. From your end as a district community development officer, I know your office is the one that is a custodian of VSLAs in districts. How was the partnership with FNSP?
Primarily, I would actually relate to the mandates of community development. The mandates cut across a number of sectors, not specifically into the specific jobs of the sectors, but in a cross-cutting way to touch on a number of aspects. This particular project was primarily working on nutrition. But working first, later on, they realized the need to integrate issues of VSLAs. Yeah. So along the way, we learned that the VSLAs were becoming a core component or a core intervention within the nutrition sector. In fact, from our department, we don't actually call it VSL as a component towards nutrition, but rather we mainstream nutrition within VSL.
That's interesting. So how has been the journey so far?
The journey has been very interesting and actually very promising.
Oh, wow.
Promising in the way that we have created hope within the members who thought they would actually sit home and wait for someone to do something for them. This intervention actually encouraged those people who were actually home, maybe praying Bao, if you know Bao that is. Yeah. Maybe going for maybe Chitelela elsewhere. But they said, apart from Chitelela, what else can we do? And they said, let's start saving and let's start engaging in business. This is an excitement. This is a movement that is outside there. This is a hope that even those people who are not participating in development, currently they are participating into their economical development.
So as the DCDO, now I'm going to be targeting mostly office because I do know you address a lot of other issues in communities, especially with regards to development. VSLA is a finance structure.
Exactly.
What value do you see in integrating or, as you say, mainstreaming nutrition into this component?
The value is primarily related to how can we help develop the population that we are having in Malawi. By the way, development, actually, it means change. And the question is, how do we change Malawi in all our dimensions? If we are talking of nutrition is a core component within the development sector. If we are talking about education, it's similarly a core issue. If we are talking about WASH, these are core elements within the development as a package. Now, how would we impact nutrition? So the VSL came in. VSL, when we're looking at nutrition, actually, we are looking at into a number of components. Primarily, we're looking at food availability.
Yes.
The second component, we are also looking at the issues to do with accessibility. we are also looking at the issue which is utilization, which relates to the biological element. In our case, this biological element should be flagged out. That's something with that we cannot work on. But we can work on the first two. Food being available. We are questioning, is the production happening to an extent that they can support the consumption? So the VSL came in and say, are you looking for farm inputs? Are you looking for how to pay for the man days, which is labor? So the VSL provided the cash for that because people were saving to make sure that the labor is being paid for, but also to make sure that inputs are being paid for, which is the beauty that the VSLAs have actually brought to the production, which affects the food availability as the first component.
Oh, that's interesting.
I hope you allow me to move to accessibility
yes,
as a component.
Please. I'm interested.
So, looking at the accessibility as a component, now the accessibility questions if the food is available within the community. Is it accessible to the members within that particular house? Or is it accessible to the households? So the money obtained or the money that is being saved from the VSLs will actually give someone the buying power.
Yeah.
So the people go and buy because they have the monies. So the VSL has actually provided the buying power to the communities. So that's why I was saying the fact that the VSL came in as a sub-component within the project. But from my own perspective, it was the VSL that was mainstreaming nutrition because it was not only mainstreaming nutrition, but also other issues maybe to do with education, to do with WASH.
True.
Which WASH, if you go to the basic causes of malnutrition, we talk of inadequate intake of nutritious food and diseases. Diseases which are mostly affected by the WASH-related interventions. I should stop there.
But now I'm just curious to find out how was this work structured? I don't know if you've got these structures you work with, but how has this mainstreaming been structured at district level to the communities that you work with?
Thank you once again. Looking at the structuring of the programming itself, actually as a district, we are supposed to have a technical working group that relates directly to VSLAs. Apart from that, within that particular structure, maybe before I go to the other structures, I would actually have the DCDO as a secretariat, as a secretary for that particular structure.
Okay.
Going down would actually, being a secretariat, then it means we also have staff. So we have community development officers or we have assistant community development, which are called the CDAs, or we have the assistant community development officers. So having that particular team, it also, when it goes down, it also work with other members. This includes the VAs, the village agents. So the village agents, they have been core in this particular work. The village agent, what we're actually doing is to supervise, to make sure that they were collecting data from specific VSLAs. So when they collect that particular data, they would actually send it to the
office,
district. So the district to our office, and our office had that particular opportunity to share as regards to what strides are being made within the VSLAs. So in terms of structure, it's actually simple. You are moving from the district, you are going through to the ADC where we have the VAs. Although the VA can actually work at a group level or can actually have maybe work at two group levels, two village headman levels, actually that is in order.
Apart from this structure that is, I think this is a government structure.
Yes.
And the good part, what I like with working with government structures is they're there. Even when FNSP comes and goes, should GIZ bring in another project or another partner brings in another project, they'll find this structure. So it kind of helps with, I think, with the sustainability component, which I think we're going to address at a later stage. But now I'm just curious to know if there were other partners besides FNSP, maybe that you worked with in terms of this integration, because I do understand you mentioned several sectors. You know, WASH has got other bigger partners that are actually focused on that. Were there maybe other partners that were also interested in integrating this nutrition component into their programming?
There were a number of NGOs that were actually working in the very TAs, because, for instance, TA Ndindi, where our friends were actually working, we also had like Feed the Children as a partner. It was also mainstreaming or actually integrating nutrition and other interventions. We also had other partners in, maybe we can actually talk of TA Pemba, where we also have World Relief also working there. So I think the goal as of to date, if we are talking of nutrition, if we are talking of any other interventions, I think integration has actually proved itself as a way to sustain, as a way to actually grow whatsoever intervention that you have.
I'm liking that statement.
Independently, it has always proven to be costly,
Yeah.
and that has actually resulted into duplication. Kind of, you're going to the very same direction only to do one thing, then you come back. Rather, you'd actually go with a package, which is kind of holistic. A point to mention, we are told that intervention that we are taking to the community should be holistic because our problems are kind of interlinked.
That's true. Because when you go to the community, you don't necessarily just find a malnourished child, right?
No.
You also find there may be bigger issues, underlying, like maybe gender norms that are maybe making this woman fail to provide properly to the child. You find maybe it's about education.
Exactly.
They are not, conversant enough with what's happening around to understand their work well. Maybe it's bad agricultural practices. So it's really a good way to think about it as, a holistic approach towards, solving problems, just like we're doing with gender these days. You're realizing that just going one, this message will come back, but you're not really addressing other issues that are making these things be, underlying and fail to sort of, help us to move forward. How have these partnerships with the holistic approach that you have taken towards community development benefited, the district? I'm looking specifically at the nutrition component and also with a focus on the VSLAs as we address everything else.
So primarily, the time I was actually mentioning about the components, one of the key component of nutrition, it looks at issues of sustainability. It questions whether the food availability will go throughout the period, which is the issue of sustainability.
Yes.
Food being available, is it throughout the year, or is it something that is actually short-termed? So in that particular aspect, what the integration helps mostly is the issue to do with sustainability. So sustainability, what it means is, if, for instance, Care Malawi is moving out of Salima, will feed the children, be able to carry on with that particular way? Or will the community be able to do that? So what it does is to question is a matter of time. Will it be successful after 10 years? And what the integration does is to make sure that that particular hope is there. When we are talking about the transition, as of to date, we are looking at other interventions that are just coming in, which are being implemented maybe by World Relief. That ensures that the transition, what Care will be doing is to transfer or to make sure that we are leaving you with hope.
I really love that component because now it's not just about whoever comes. There's already possibility of this knowledge transfer, and that's really good. And I'm hoping that your office is really on the forefront of, trying to coordinate this transfer.
Exactly.
Because that's a win, I think, for FNSP. There's already progress, and already, a clear transition line on where do we go from where we are right now. That's really good.
It's actually a beauty on the part of the part of Care as well, because they have been so engaging. So if they are moving out, which frankly speaking, people will not be happy to hear that they're moving out. I know.
I was in Salima everywhere, just like Care this, Care that. I think FNSP has really been strong in that district.
It has been very strong. The visibility has been very good.
Yeah, true.
So if they are moving out, we are saying, yes, we might be crying, but at least we say there is still hope. But then there is also hope. And no question, a kind of intervention where it has worked, should it be scaled up or should it be scaled down? That's where the other hope is. So the hope is just because they did well, and whoever is actually grading their scores will give them another chance.
Yeah, true. I think Kate has also something to add to that.
The VSLA groups have also acted as platforms, nutrition education platforms.
Oh, wow.
Since FNSP is targeting women within 15 to 49 years. So these groups is accommodating women order. Through these groups, they are able to learn about nutrition. These groups have also helped to sustain income-generating activities, as well as resilience in terms of droughts, as well as illness. Most of these women that have been involved in these VSLA groups, their homes are much better compared to the women which are not involved in these VSLA groups.
I actually agree with that. We had a conversation with a woman in T.A. Pemba's area, and actually she had this to say.
My name is Agnes Simon. I come from Hale Village, Tiepemba in Salima district. And I'm part of the Village Savings and Loans Association's VSLA in my village. And I've been part of it for 3 years now. Before joining, I was in a poor situation and among people that were lagging behind, thinking I'll lose my money if I join VSLA. But after I joined, I realized that I was missing a lot. I joined VSLA because I was admiring my friends. Their children and families, they were healthy and happy with the money they were getting at VSLA. So I was motivated to join them. Kea started to visit us at the time I started the VSLA. Since I joined the VSLA, I have benefited a lot. Now I raise goats, chicken, and when I need money, I borrow at VSLA and repay it later. My family is now financially independent. Apart from depositing money, we discuss breastfeeding, nutritious diet, hygiene, and other topics according to trainings that CARE gave us. We cannot stop meeting at VSLA even when CARE project phase out in our area.
Yeah, quite interesting text there from a woman, because initially she didn't have anything in her house and it was one of those poor houses that had to wait for people to do something. But with the VSLA and I think mostly the integration of nutrition, even her kids are healthier. We went to the house. I mean, you find kids eating good food, which is really not common. And it was nice for us to sort of experience that firsthand, beyond her just saying my home is better right now. That was one of the clients I think we had an interview with. But in case you're just joining us, this is Over to You. And today we're discussing village savings and loan associations, specifically how FNSP was integrating nutrition in that space. Keep listening because there's still so much more you need to learn. Now moving to community, now we're talking about communities. I just want to find out, how has the community of saving groups received this integration component?
The integration actually was actually received very well by the community, as noted by increased number of vessels, which either wanted to align themselves with the project, but also self-formed, where they were actually not really aligning to the group, but they were self-sustaining.
Oh, wow.
Whether in terms of capacity, they would like just call our extension worker to go and help them on how to set up average saving. So in that particular way, it showed to us that reception was actually very good. But also, when we're talking about reception, looking at the impact, when they hear the success stories, they were always impressed. I will tell you, this might be part of a success story that is worth noting. Actually, last time when we collected data from a number of TAs in the district, we realized we had something close to 600-something million kwacha being saved within a year.
Wow.
Now, when you look at
VSLAs,
village savings and loans associations, now when you look at that, now the question is, this is equivalent to 0.6 billion kwacha.
Yeah.
If we relate this with our constituency development fund a year, we have about 5 constituencies. The chunk that goes to Salima, it was about 500 million.
Oh, even
per year.
Less than the
per year,
VSLAs.
which meant that the vessels were even contributing in more to the development of the district than what was actually coming through our constituency development fund.
Wow.
So that when you relate, we're talking of the data that also had some issues related to some being missed, not reporting. But what if everybody was actually considered
reporting
and every
properly
was actually reporting properly? Would have had a lot of impact being documented.
Oh, that's a good story. What have been key highlights of this journey since you started working with FNSP in terms of nutrition integration within the VSLA groups as a district?
Primarily, maybe the issues are to do with to what extent has malnutrition rates been affected with the integration of average savings and loan. Actually, it's to a great extent. Yes, we might not be very good at reporting quantitative data, but qualitatively, we have actually seen improvements at a household level. How we have seen people acquiring assets that relates to improving nutrition, maybe having small stock, having maybe chickens, having maybe rabbits at your household. Or I've also seen people maybe even owning goats. That's because VSLs, what it does, it engages people to start owning certain assets. Having goats. By the way, when you look at malnutrition as a problem, sometimes we think it's purely food. If you go to the underlying cause of malnutrition, there's nothing about food. So issues of housing, they're equally important, because diseases, if the housing is very poor, diseases are likely to happen. And diseases, it is also one of the basic causes of malnutrition. So by having a good house, it also indirectly tells us that the house will actually, issues to do with the upper respiratory infections will be reduced, which will in the long run, you remember the other third component of nutrition, we're talking about utilization of food, which is biological. So if we are avoiding issues of diseases through proper housing, we are also indirectly saying VSLs have also impacted on the utilization because they have made sure that people are living in good, good housing. So the good housing sequence is another key issue. If we go to the villages, you hear people have actually roofed. They have actually bought iron sheets.
Actually, we did. That woman that just spoke just now, actually, she was showing off. Very proud of that achievement. Look at this house. I had a very, very bad grass-thatched house before. Now, she even mentioned goats. Exactly. I have goats, I have what? I even eat nutritious food. I was like, oh, okay, interesting. And we could see the things, not necessarily just mentioning. I don't think they sort of see it from the bigger picture that it is, but it's really, I would say, really quite big when you look at how you're just breaking down everything.
Now, when you relate how the VSLAs have actually helped to achieve resilience, even soon after disasters have occurred, you see people running to VSLAs to get funds so that they can restart, to go and get funds so that they can buy maybe plastic sheets, to go and get monies where they can actually buy food, to go and get money which can support maybe issues travel to the hospitals.
Yeah, that's really interesting. But now, beyond the impact, because for me personally, when I went there, I could even see the impact. So I do know what you mean when you say, issues of utilization, issues of production. Some of them were farmers and they were like, I do farm all year round. I don't even struggle with fertilizer, to grow my crops.
Just to add value on that. Do you know that actually shelling out, there is a time where people would say, we saved, but now let's share what we saved. 90% also happens in December. Have you ever thought asked why it happens in December?
No, I actually just feel like it's year end, so maybe that's why people
the reason is to invest those monies into agriculture.
Production.
So if the agriculture guys, I think once in a while they would even be coming to the radios and say, we are here to thank our friends from community development for having contributed greatly towards agriculture. Because what they do is to reinvest those monies into the agriculture, into the food production.
That's something I never really thought about, Sam, because I always thought like it's year end, so they want to start January on a high note. I never really thought it's just about input, buying inputs so they are set for the new agricultural phase.
So you are lucky that you know today.
Wow, that's interesting.
VSLA groups have also empowered women. They now have a voice in their homes. Oh, wow. Yeah, they are able to decide what they want to eat, what food they want to buy. They are able to contribute to them, to child care, talking of good health. Compared to women who are just solely depending on their husbands. And this has also had an impact on gender-based violence, since women are now able to rely on these groups, to make decisions on their own, to provide for their household needs. These cases have now reduced. And you find that it's not likely to find VSLA groups composed by men. Most of these groups are composed by women. And most of these women, they are able to say that we are contributing to these groups both as a husband and a wife, since men are also occupied with other tasks. Talk of the lakeside, men mostly
fishing
are much occupied with fishing, and women are the ones joining these groups. So
Remember, you're listening to Over to You podcast, and today I'm joined by Sam. Sam is a district community development officer for Salima district, and I'm also joined with Kate Mangulu Bota from GIZ, and Kate is a project coordinator for FNSP. And today we're discussing Village Savings and Loans Association and how these play a huge role in ensuring nutrition outcomes realized for the people of Salima and the country in general. Now, beyond impact, beyond production, beyond everything, we discuss challenges at the end of the day. What challenges, I think I'll start with you, Sam, in your view, do you think you have seen in the implementation of this integration of nutrition into VSLAs? And what areas do you think could be done better?
Actually, as you indicated, the challenges are just part of us. I think the reason we exist is to make sure that we resolve those challenges. So looking at the process, there are a number of issues that are actually a challenge as of today. The issues to do on how we collect our data. I would actually say as of to date, I think it is the right time to be informed by data. As of today, we should be saying how many VSLAs we have in Salima in total as a district, and how many are in TAA, how many are in TAB, how many are in TAC. Yes, we can do that, but the data collection process, it is not as perfect because it's actually manually done. So that's the biggest challenge, where we are collecting data from the whole of the district manually. You want to collect the membership, it's a bit task. Mainly at the era where we are talking, we are going digital. At the period when we are saying, gentlemen, we are done with the paperwork. We are talking about sustaining our environment, because remember, paperwork is a product of the environment as well.
It is.
So if we are to go digital, I feel like it's partly making sure wheresoever trees are being used to make paper, the trees are safe as well.
True.
So the other challenge, I would actually say, our vessels, yes, they are very good intervention. We can talk about the positives, a lot of the positives. But if you go to a group, they will not show you any registration that they have. If you go to a hawker today or a shop somewhere, they will give you a business registration certificate.
True.
But VSLs, they don't have those certificates. So this is also a challenge where when issues of misappropriation happen within those structure, they go to court to say this is not in existence, because when you look into our books, it's not registered. So the other challenge is actually when we look at, yes, relating to data, but I still question to say as a process, as an intervention, is it informed by research to say this is a good intervention, or it is actually from the hearsays?
So there's need for
there is a gap. There's a need for research. As an intervention, when we're talking of research, we are also talking of an investment within the staff, within the workers, so that how can we do the coding and making sure that the data is actually transferred even faster. So research would actually help. How do we make sure that these people, they are given that kind of economic development ladder, they're able to move from one ladder, from one step to another? It requires research and say, yes, we are here and this is how can actually proceed. I should also go to the challenges that are related to outcomes. Yes. We have actually seen like maybe somebody has money at home. The sharing period is indeed ripe. They have actually shared. We have also had some issues to do with maybe conflicts within the houses. These are small issues which also relate or mostly aligned to maybe issues of financial literacy. Where are they going to invest the money? True. Is it only to buy clothes? Is it only to buy food? Or they need to grow through the radar?
Or maybe, sometimes they get excited with the money, so they start marrying 10 women. It's also something else that, knowledge is important.
We have another member says, now I can actually stand on my own. Yes, we need independence, but we say independence without infringing on the rights of somebody. So that's what we need. So issues of rights. How do we make sure that the outcome does only bring the intended goals?
That's true.
So that's maybe the challenge that we also face. The last challenge, which is what platform have we made for someone who has actually moved out of a VSL with about 5 million kwacha, with about 10 million kwacha? What other investment options within the project, or we are there within the project. So we would get those investment options were not available. So this is another challenge. But also the last one I should actually mention, I think you have noted that even the REITs, those professionals, we call professionals, they are also into VSL.
Oh, these days it's almost everybody.
Everywhere. So the question is, what other investment options do we have or have been made known to these particular professionals? So these are the challenges upon us. How do we address so that somebody having 10 million should maybe go into the treasury bills kind of investment, goes to into the treasury the T-bonds kind of investments, or goes into the other actually good investments that maybe our partners from Reserve Bank can actually initiate and bring about education.
These are really interesting texts, and I think a quite unique perspective into how we can actually go bigger, because we are just looking at them from the ground level.
Yes.
If you're mentioning about if you have 5 million beyond, how do you invest this money? A lot of people don't have information on investment, say like stock markets, treasury. It's information that is not really easy to find for somebody who is in the village. But I think for somebody listening, if you're interested in doing something similar, or maybe supporting this kind of work, or maybe moving, taking from where FNSP is stopping, I think what Sam mentioned, there's so much one can learn from that, a whole lot of things.
In fact, designer, we need to talk of a ladder.
Yeah.
Where are we starting? And where are we going?
Yeah.
Apart from that, being at stage A, what are we thinking about being a very good intervention, a very good package for the team that is at stage A? And if we are to be at stage C, what kind of interventions related to the financial
should we bring in?
Oh,
interesting.
Similarly, if we are at stage C and above, we should actually be thinking of what kind of intervention. So when I look at the VSLs, it's like we have people who are just idle.
Yeah.
And they're saying, guys, can we save something and start small? They have started small, things are ticking. We say, no, can we invest small?
They're just comfortable there. They don't want to grow
invest
bigger.
Small, buy small livestock, buy goats, buy land. These are small investments. But then we say, you have actually bought land. How would we move forward? We say, our friends from Reserve Bank, you have your financial educators, come in and make sure that you are adding value to what people are actually doing. So we are going to another layer.
That's true.
When we are there, and we should actually sit down and say, how do we develop our Malawi? Let's think of big investments. Can people form cooperatives, form associations where they can bring their money and say, we are going to Nkota and build a kind of a port, and go to Nkata, build a port, a landing port. So this is being done by a group who are actually saving monies, or they are growing into a bank or a kind of a financial institution. This is just kind of the imagination that we should be having. Yes, we are moving from the VSL, but can we have the transition process? So that's what I would actually
the bigger we go, the lesser the malnutrition issues, because then people will be able to afford anything.
Exactly,
to avoid malnutrition.
Power gives you, and I like this particular definition when you're talking about development. You say development, it is a process that increases people's choice.
Yeah, true.
So choice whereby would even say, where do I go and get health services? It has increased your choice.
That's true.
Where do I go and eat? What type of food do I eat? So that's a change we need as a country. So we are starting small, yes, but we are saying this is the way to go.
How do we grow? When you think of the Malawi 2063, that's how it should be starting. It's not going to start from top coming down.
No.
But then from the community level growing up, healthy people make a healthy nation.
In fact, when you look at the pillar of industrialization, we are saying not to people to take us into that. We are saying, how do we make sure the greater part of our population get involved, participate into the industrialization process? I think that is key, because the problem, if we have a problem, is that few people are participating in our own development. The process, when we divide the total chunk that we have by the total population, we find the average money is actually very small, and therefore cannot develop.
That's true.
So let's engage everyone if we are to develop. Yes, nutrition is a developmental issue, but we are saying nutrition can also add value to the development process, and that's what it is doing. But without forgetting that VSLs have proven to be a very good intervention, apart from the challenge that we have.
That's interesting. Now, last question. We'll start with Katie. Sustainability. how do you think FNSP's work will be sustained beyond the project, especially with regards to the mainstreaming of nutrition into VSLAs?
The VSLA groups were already established like from way back, maybe before the care groups.
Yes.
So the nutrition aspect, it was like just coming in when the VSLA groups were already established. So I would say it's a group that has already been established, and it has seen the benefit of the nutrition education.
Yes.
And even with minimal supervision, you can see the things that they are doing, and even you can see that the things that they are able to point out, like what they have achieved from the nutrition aspect, adding to the VSA groups. So the sustainability is there, because it's not like something that's coming out because an extension officer or an officer from implementing partners was there to tell them to do things, but they can do things by themselves without even being taught, because they have seen the benefit of the nutrition aspect in the VSLA groups. So we can talk of the backyard gardens. You find that these women also having backyard gardens in their homes. Yes. And when they say we have invested in livestock, we are able to see the goats, the local chickens right there in the village. And they know that it's not only for income generation, but they're also consuming.
Nutrition aspect of
exactly.
Their
so,
families,
yeah, it's just like there that they have taken up the nutrition aspect, and they are well established in the nutrition aspect.
Sam, what are your thoughts on the sustainability aspect?
Looking at VSL, I think it is a question you're asking me, Sam, how do you make sure that your family survives the next 10 years?
Yes.
So my answer is, this is a family that has actually been formed out of my own interest.
Yes.
So VSLs are self-forming. It's not somebody coming to tell them, can you be in a group? No. But the group saying, my friend, can we actually form a group? And they agree. So these are self-forming. But what are we doing as extension workers?
Yes.
What we are doing is to add value. To tell them, my friend, if you are to not have problems during the share out time, keep records. If you are not to have problems, please can you make sure that you are doing your business so that your loan repayment is actually done smoothly. What we are doing is to start questioning, can the data collection process which is being done manually survive? But we're now saying, no, whosoever wants to transition this particular intervention, can you bring the tablets, can you bring the smartphone so that reporting should be done digitally? So if the question is about sustainability, is something that is already there.
But the value addition.
But then the value addition that we should be questioning, we should actually be asking ourselves, how do we add value so that whatsoever is actually happening, we are able to.
But as Kate said, it's also even easier because, for instance, the nutrition value addition into VSLAs is stuff that is benefiting themselves. They have got healthy kids, they don't go to the hospital.
Exactly.
They have time to do business and farm work. You don't want to change that dynamic in a family. That's really something I think interesting. That's the end of our episode today. And in today's conversation, we're discussing VSLAs and specifically how nutrition is being mainstreamed in the space. I was in the studio today with Sam Chimwaza, who is the District Community Development Officer for Salima District, sharing his amazing insights into the world of VSLAs and specifically how it's mainstreaming nutrition and the whole of other very key critical sectors of our society, as well as Kate Mangulu. Kate, who happens to be the project coordinator for FNSP. We are hoping you have learned, because the whole purpose of Over to You is to make sure that you get something out of our conversations so that you can proceed to maybe learn from us and take from there, or else maybe create something else different, building on the lessons from our space. Until our next episodes, I've been your host, Zainab Tisenga. This is Over to You.